Some people will tell you that time heals all wounds. But when your heart is shattered, those words feel hollow, like a bandage over a deep cut. I remember a woman named Claire. Her laughter could light up a room, the kind of laugh that made strangers turn and smile. But after the breakup, it was gone. Her eyes had a heaviness, like she was carrying the weight of a world only she could see. She wasn't just losing a partner, she was losing the future she thought she'd have. The shared dreams, the morning coffee rituals, the quiet "I'm here" glances. And if you've ever wondered how to move on from someone you love, you know it's not about pretending they never existed. It's about piecing yourself back together, even when you don't recognize the reflection in the mirror. Claire's story begins in a small apartment where the walls seem to echo with memories. Half-packed boxes sat in the corner, as if even they were unsure whether to stay or go. The scent of his cologne still lingered on the sweater draped over the couch, a silent reminder of mornings spent, wrapped in comfort and conversations that once felt endless. She'd pick it up, intending to throw it away, but every time her fingers touched the fabric, it was like pressing play on an old film reel. Smiles, road trips, inside jokes, flashing in her mind. She knew she couldn't live in the past forever, but moving forward felt like betrayal. The truth about learning how to move on from someone you love is this. It's not about shutting off the pain, it's about walking through it. So Claire gave herself permission to grieve. Some days she sobbed until her body ached. Other days she screamed into a pillow. Some nights she just sat in the quiet staring at nothing. Because pretending you're okay doesn't speed up healing. It only traps you in limbo, holding on to a version of yourself that no longer exists. One night, long after the city had gone quiet, Claire sat curled up on her couch, phone in hand, scrolling without purpose. Her thumb paused over an old note buried deep in her files, something she had written years before. It wasn't a love letter or a to-do list. It was a declaration. It read, "Travel solo through Italy. Learn French well enough to order wine without an accent. Open a bakery with fresh croissants every morning." Each line was like a spark, igniting parts of her she had forgotten existed. She realized with a pang of guilt that she had quietly boxed up those dreams the moment she fell in love, setting them aside to make space for someone else's life. Now, those dreams sat on an invisible shelf in her heart, covered in dust. She read the list again, this time slower, letting each word sink in. And somewhere between the ache in her chest and the sting of tears in her eyes, something shifted. That night, Claire made herself a quiet but unshakable promise. She would take those dreams off the shelf. She would book that solo ticket. She would sign up for the French class. She would try her hand at croissants until the kitchen smelled like Paris. Because part of learning how to move on from someone you love isn't just letting go of them. It's reclaiming the parts of you they never even met. And sometimes, the most powerful way forward is to fall in love with your own life. Claire didn't rebuild her life overnight. She started with steps so small, they almost felt insignificant. One Saturday, she hopped on a bus to a nearby coastal town she had never visited. She wandered the quiet streets, tasted pastries from a bakery run by a woman who reminded her of her grandmother, and watched the waves crash like they were applauding her for simply showing up for herself. She signed up for a pottery class at a little studio down the street. Her first mug was lopsided, but she kept it, a reminder that beauty isn't always symmetrical, it's about the story it tells. One afternoon, she walked into a salon and asked for her hair to be cut short. She told the stylist, "Make it light. I want to feel the wind on my neck." It wasn't just a haircut. It was a silent declaration that she was no longer holding on to who she used to be. But the biggest shift came when she deleted his number and unfollowed him on social media. No more late-night scrolling. No more analyzing his posts for hidden meanings. That single decision was like closing a door and finally locking it. See, moving on from someone you love isn't only about physical distance. It's about protecting your heart with emotional boundaries. It's choosing not to feed the pain, so healing has room to breathe. And every small step, no matter how quiet or imperfect, is a seed planted in the soil of your own becoming. There were mornings when Claire would wake up feeling light, as if the world had finally loosened its grip on her heart. But then there were days when a random song in a cafe or the smell of coffee brewing would pull her right back into the ache, and she'd think, have I made any progress at all? That's the thing no one tells you. Healing isn't a straight road. It's a winding path with detours, dead ends, and sudden bursts of sunlight. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes the 1 step back feels heavier than the 2 you just took forward. The real secret to how to move on from someone you love is not in forcing yourself to get over it quickly, but in giving yourself permission to be messy, inconsistent, and deeply human. There is no stopwatch for grief, no finish line for love lost. And here's the truth. Falling apart doesn't mean you're failing. It means you cared deeply. Every tear, every restless night staring at the ceiling, every ache in your chest is proof that you lived fully. And each wave of pain, though exhausting, is also washing away the last traces of the life you're no longer meant to live. Healing, Claire realized, wasn't about erasing the past. It was about learning to carry it with softness until one day it no longer felt like a weight at all. A year later, Claire stood barefoot at the edge of a cliff in Santorini, the Aegean Sea stretching endlessly before her. The warm breeze carried the scent of salt and sun-baked stone, and the sky was awash in shades of gold and rose. She closed her eyes and let the moment sink into her bones. For the first time in what felt like forever, her thoughts weren't tangled in memories of him. There were no silent what-ifs, no ache in her chest when she thought about the past. Instead, her mind was alive with the smell of fresh bread in the bakery. She was opening next month. The laughter of friends she'd collected like precious seashells along the way, and the quiet pride in knowing. She had rebuilt her life from the inside out. Claire realized she hadn't moved on by erasing him from her story. She had moved on by writing new chapters that had nothing to do with him. She had learned to love herself more than she missed him. And in that moment, standing on that cliff, she felt it deep in her soul. She was free. If you're listening to this and wondering how to move on from someone you love, start where Claire did, by letting yourself feel the pain instead of running from it. By dusting off the dreams you put aside, and by allowing time to do its quiet work. Healing doesn't erase the past, it reshapes it, turning heartbreak into a kind of wisdom you carry with you forever. And here's the truth. One day, you'll wake up and realize you've stopped checking your phone for their name. You've started laughing without forcing it. And the weight in your chest has lifted. That's when you'll know. Losing them wasn't the end of your story, it was the beginning of you. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who needs the reminder. And remember, you're not just moving on, you're moving toward the life you were meant to live.